morning, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to look at the weekly, I can't get comfortable, I'm here to look at the weekly energies for today's Monday's Musings on the 24th of July. Damn, right, okay, so I didn't actually feel like doing this video at first, and there's a real emphasis of knowing what I'm feeling and what is going on this week in particular for us all, to really recognise and take responsibility for our own emotions and whether or not that is actually playing out around us or it's based on how we perceive things, to investigate how we are being affected by things. Now, there's a lot going on. There is a lot going on. We do have the full moon coming up on Lammas or harvest on the 1st of August in Aquarius. So there's that real emotional freedom type energy there, but also the mental trust of being able to balance those emotions. You know, emotional freedom isn't from the reactions we get from others, but how well we can hold space for that. We also have the 8-8 portal, but of course the Lionsgate portal starts on the 26th of July anyway, so we're building up towards that. We also have, a lot of people aren't realising, but Chiron went retrograde in Aries, or is about to go retrograde in Aries. So a lot of those wounds in regards to how we are seen and our own independence and our own drive. I myself have an Aries rising, so I can feel that. I can really feel old wounds coming to the surface to be seen by myself, because retrograde is a chance to reflect, right? It's a chance to go within. And then we have Venus that has gone retrograde, and unlike Mercury, she doesn't do it as often. I think it's every 2 years or more, or 19 months, something like that. She goes retrograde, and it can be quite profound when Venus goes into the underworld. A lot of shamanic journeys coincide with this, particularly Inanna, the descent of Inanna. And I actually felt it Sunday morning. I was going to say as soon as I got up, but that would be totally inauthentic. I didn't get up in the morning. Well, just. I'm a Leo, so Venus has gone retrograde into Leo, and I just had this overwhelming feeling of wanting to put the blanket back over my head and just like, oh, this shit. Going back to bed. Because there's a lot for us to figure out. There's a lot for us to go in and feel and sense and discover. That feels like key. Underneath it all, no matter how uncomfortable or comfortable it may be, you know, you may see this as a real opportunity to get to grips with how you feel and what it is you're after, what it is you're desiring. And with that oomph behind you over the next few months, things could really become more graceful, more authentic to your heart. They may not. They may be the other way. And for many, myself included, there's lots of areas coming to light where it almost feels as if we're running round and round and round in a wheel, going over and over the same things because we haven't got to the root cause of it all. Now, that's going to be different for everybody, okay? But with Venus, it is going to be related to the home. It is going to be related to money, our connection here on earth, our ability to love ourselves and others, give and receive. So this morning I thought, before I do the video, and this really feels like key, I need to be aware of what I'm feeling so that it doesn't project too much onto the information given. Because the best will in the world, we can get out of the way as much as we like, but we will still taint the waters with our own emotions. You know, how we are will always affect what we see and what we share as a result. So I looked into my own birth chart, and I have a lot in Leo. I have Mercury in Leo, Jupiter in Leo, my sun in Leo. So there's a lot there about my own light, which I can really resonate with. There's a lot there about how I communicate my own light to myself in particular. There's a lot there in my ability to expand things for myself and for others. I'm seeing a lot coming to the forefront for me in regards to where I'm holding myself back with that. Supporting others incredibly, but holding myself back with that. My Venus is in Cancer, so there's going to be a lot of emotions there for me coming to light. There's going to be a lot in regards to my home, a lot in regards to my family, so it feels like a double whammy. And it was really interesting looking into these things. I'm not one for over rationalizing, which is in my birth chart. Actually, my Venus in Cancer doesn't like too much rationalization. I'm here to feel, but like we all are. But one of the things I did notice in this explanation, which you can find on many websites, you know, this one was Cafe Astrology, or yeah, Astro Cafe, sorry. Used to be Cafe Astrology. One of the things I noticed on there was that it said with people with Venus in Cancer, it was conjunct something else as well, I can't quite remember. What you don't want is for them to start taking all their energy and attention and putting it on their self, because yeah, that's a whole other ball game. And I started to think about that, and I started to wonder what would happen actually if all of that love, not that I took it out and away from others, but that I started to really give it to myself. And ultimately, underneath it all, that's what Venus is helping us to do. And for those that do it regularly, kudos, it's going to be a really expansive time. For those that struggle with the ability to receive, and you know, we all have our perceived view of worth, and that will affect our ability to receive, which will affect our ability to give. For those that do struggle with that, or maybe out of balance with that, and it does feel like a balance with that as we go into the full moon in Aquarius, it could be emotionally turbulent from now until around about October, because you know, the moment Venus starts to sort herself out, the Mercury starts to go backwards, and there's so much going on. This morning, even though we're still summer, I really felt the descent. I really felt the darkness. It had been raining outside. I really felt the winter months. And I really felt this almost panic. Like I wasn't ready for the winter. Like I hadn't even had chance to embrace the light. Now, obviously, that isn't just the summer. That is my own. I hadn't had chance to shine. And that is where we're all being asked to look. This week in particular, but obviously with everything going on. There's a reason that Venus went retrograde on the Feast of Mary Magdalene. It is to do with the feminine. It is to do with how we voice our own creativity, our own internal... So I've got a really achy tooth for some reason. Distracted. Our own power, yes. Our own power, how we really express that, how we really allow the creativity to come through us, how well we mother that, how well we nurture that. How well we can deliver that, how well we can conceive with that, ultimately, how well we believe in ourselves and our ability to do that. And that's really coming to the forefront. And I can take that on board because, you know, there was an old saying at work that the worst, well, the hardest deliveries were by the midwives, the midwives themselves. And, you know, there's something in that we are almost being asked to receive our own gifts here, to really look at how well we can open up to what it is we ask everyone else to open up to. So, you know, if we teach art and encourage people not to criticize their work, how well do we do that ourselves? If we empower others to believe in themselves, how well do we do that ourselves? Because ultimately, it's about taking it all to the next level, what we offer to the next level as well. And there being a real solid authenticity behind that. A lot of the hidden is going to be seen, and especially in regards to our own confidence, which is based on how authentic we feel in who we are. Okay, so was there anything else on that? Really, really important to know what is yours and not to project it onto others over the next few months. And it's going to be reflected straight back when you do, so just acknowledging it, owning up to it, you know, with a little bit of compassion and lightheartedness. It feels relevant not to search for more, that's going to be enough, and that can almost cause some of the confusion. So letting go of the need to know, letting go of the need to figure things out, letting go of the need to have a structure or a plan. We're talking about emotions here. We're talking about love here. Okay, if we think about Inanna and the descent through the 7 gates, then what's happening here is a real release through all our energy centers of what we thought we were, who we thought we were, what we thought we had, you know, all of those things that we then release, let go of our expectations of, and eventually bring back on a more accepted, embodied level. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to recommend that you read the book Journey to the Dark Goddess. I may do another journey at one point in the group or on my page, but definitely recommend you read it. or just take time to look at your own truth, your own honesty, and be aware of what it is you don't want. If you can't figure out what it is you do want, what it is you don't want. So I'm not sure where I'm at in regards to the next steps that I want to take, but I do know that I want deep connections, that I want things that are going to sustain me, that I want beauty and abundance, luxury, you know, all those things that make you go things that make you go that's what I'm really yearning for at the moment. And we'll find out with Venus going retrograde, it is all things for the heart. It is all things that bring us comfort, safety, security, that real deep feeling of contentment. You know, the full moon coming up for the harvest, it is about making sure that we are going to have enough to sustain us, and that is going to impact our relationships. Yes, you are going to see relationships come to a completion. Let's just leave it at that. Come to a completion, a necessary completion. And, you know, there's going to be a big focus on everything that's ending and all potentially the negative stuff coming to light. Really, really important to look at what truths are coming to light for you in how you perceive the world. Is that still sustaining you? And if not, what it is you now need. Okay, so one of the big things with Venus going retrograde is self-care, and the importance of seeing that as an essential component of life itself. Okay, and that can be, you know, this relationship isn't sustaining me anymore, it's not fulfilling me anymore, I'm not fulfilling this relationship, or I don't want to anymore. And being okay with that. It could be your home. I live in the country, I adore the country. This morning I woke up and just thought of all the hard work that it takes to keep everything not trimmed back, but because it's not my home and I'm renting, I have to keep it to a certain level of acceptance of appearance, right? And Venus in retrograde, all that needing to be a certain appearance is going to really come to the forefront. And there are things that we're tired of, the work that it takes to keep up this facade, whether it's our gardens so that we don't get evicted, or our own personal appearance. And there's a lot coming to light with that is going to change the things that we want. You know, this morning I really started to think I wouldn't mind a modern house with heating, you know, hot water, because we don't have hot water. You know, really starting to think about the experiences we have had and whether or not we still want to take them forward. Okay, so keeping that in mind with Venus retrograde, and being aware also of Chiron retrograde, that's going to bring up any old wounds related to that. So obviously a modern house for me and owning my own home has real financial aspects to it, and that is bringing up those old wounds and holding space for them, being aware of them. So the other thing I'm looking at is a book called Living Magically, called Jill Edwards, which I'm going to read, not now, I'm going to read later, reread, okay, so I can remember how to live magically. The reason I'm looking at it is it has a butterfly on the cover, and today near one of my oil burners there was a butterfly and it was just poised. And I thought, how fabulous, but actually it was dead. The transformation had occurred. The beauty, the stages of letting go, releasing, dying, rebirth, it had all finished. And here was this carcass of it all left. And I could really resonate with that this morning. With Venus going retrograde for me personally, there's a real, not struggle in finding the magic, but knowing that there's more magic to be seen, and that I kind of need to get out of my own way and allow that to happen, rather than continually staring at the carcass of old experiences and old transformations. So make of that what you will, but we are really being asked to open our eyes to the magic that is available out there by being brave enough to have our heart open and realize what it is we want based on what it is we don't want anymore. Okay, so right, I'm not going to look around anymore, I'm not going to complicate things anymore, and this is going to be 10 of Pentacles upside down. I'm going to put them up the right way. Oh, it's just the 10 of Pentacles upside down. Okay. This is going to be the cause of many a autoimmune disease, looking around for more information, for more confirmation, because we're not believing in what our body is telling us. Really taking stock over the next few months to listen to what is going on with the physical vessel, and for the wisdom that that then brings. Yes, we are going to be aware of the fates in the background. Yes, we are going to be aware of certain aspects of change that are out of our hands. However, it is our ability to recognize our emotions leading up to those points that prepare us. You know, quite often we have those senses that know something is coming. And the Page of Cups here. So I knew a couple of days ago, based on the Page of Cups, actually based on how I felt like in this world, in the next world, senses were a bit tingly, something was coming, there was some kind of change, but I didn't force it. I'm still waiting, and bit by bit certain things are coming to light, and I'm having compassion with that process, allowing it to be as slow or as fast as it needs to be, not to split myself apart, okay, not to push certain aspects aside, but allow these components to come back now, almost like a soul retrieval here. When we don't listen to the body, when we push parts away, you know, when we're feeling certain things and we feel bad for feeling it. Classic today, I was thinking about, I'm not too comfortable where I am and blah, blah, blah. And then I saw the most incredible story of a terminal cancer survivor. And in the back of my mind, it was like, you know, and you're thinking about X, Y, and Z and you want da-da-da. And there was, for me, a real feeling of ungratefulness. Okay, and that's a core wound for me coming to the surface. Something that I've pushed to one side that now actually really needs to be faced if I'm to move forward. This week in particular, those little naggy things that are coming to the surface, and it may not be what you feel initially, but what you see as a result and how you feel about that being reflected, is going to really bring a few things to light for you. Feeling into that this week is going to be key, because when we separate those parts, they never go away. They become these big demons that we start to fear. Okay, so, you know, at one point in life, I obviously wanted more than could be given to me, and I felt guilt and shame for that. And now it's this big, big demon, yeah, that almost needs to be brought back home and embraced. So why wouldn't we do that? Well, yes, there's fear, but there's also comfort in that. Okay, there's also comfort in being in this world, but not in this world. And I hear that so much, especially in the spiritual community, being in this world, but not of this world. Really recognizing the power of the human experience and how that needs to come into play in and on our spiritual path and part of our ascension, not separate from it, but as the vessel that's going to hold it all together. Okay, we are in this world, we are of this world, and you know, at one point we would have found that a wonderful honor. We wouldn't have tried to get away from that. So keeping that balance this week is going, oh, there we are, Two of Pentacles underneath. Keeping that balance is going to be key this week. Okay, so we're very shiny. My skin is very shiny today, which is a little bit annoying. I haven't got anything on it, but it just looks really, really shiny. I hear the song Shiny Happy People Holding Hands. Yeah, how do I feel about that? Okay, Eight of Wands and Justice here. So there is a lot of energy coming in, and it is about us saying enough is enough. How do I actually feel about certain things? Am I trying to make myself something that I'm not? I wouldn't say I'm always a shiny, happy person, far from it. You know, and for me that works to have some depth, some realism, some ups and downs and cycles of life. I'm very aware of them emotionally, and for me they're very powerful. This week, really feeling into how you feel about certain things. Yeah, how you feel about spirituality, how you feel about your own spirituality and what that actually means to you. Okay. And it is going to impact the tribe that you find yourself in. Right, so energy this week and how to best navigate it. So it is literally about not looking outside, but about going within, knowing when to stop. Okay, Seven of Cups here. There's a lot of indecisions this week, and you know, it is about pausing, going within. The Seven is all about endurance and things coming together in completion, but not having to do the work that you've already done. So this week, taking stock of what you want to take forward, what you don't want to take forward, how you feel about things that you thought you once wanted, and maybe then from that perspective seeing why they may not have come to fruition. Debating whether or not you actually still want them and whether you want to take them forward this week is going to be key. But pausing, stopping, having time with yourself, using your emotions as your pendulum, as your barometer, really, really is key this week. Monday, I can feel that one. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Overall. So we are being asked to flow here. There is only one major arcana this week, which I'm not surprised. It really feels like it's about our ability to recognise we are our own fates as well, and that we are supported. We are supported in the background by temperance, by that higher angelic energy of our higher self, but also the past, the present, all starting to come together into the one form that is us. But this week we really have a chance to look at where our drive is, where our heart is at, where our mind is at, and who we have around us to support with that, and whether or not they are actually supporting us and the connections that we have. We are being asked to flow. Overall, we have the Queen of Cups, and I always feel like I want to go, what is the point? What is the point of looking into the energies? What is the point of sharing this? What is the point of doing what I do? And that's really going to come to light this week, because I can feel it individually, but collectively as well. And that's up to us to figure out. That's up to us to figure out. And the point is, does it call to our heart? Does it give us chance to do what it is we want to do while we are here with this one precious life that we're given? Do we flow with our own vibration, or are we being something that we're not? I'm really, really looking at that this week. Finding the point. You know, the point, I hear the point of no return, but finding that tipping point, if you will, that's going to restore the balance that you've been looking for. We do have the Queen of Cups, so it is about nurture. And this just reminds me of Venus retrograde. You know, this is my Venus in Cancer. Yeah, but just that, do you know what? I'm just going to take stock, take a moment, allow this all to occur around me, and just see how I feel and flow with that, so that I can be aware of where I'm at, and then I can really look at where the world around me is at. Okay, I do hear the phrase, not my circus, not my monkeys, but it isn't that type of energy actually. It can be we can assume that it's a good time to step back from it all, not get involved, separate ourselves. Some relationships ending perhaps before they may not have needed to, just a few tweaks and a few more flowing of the communication and the love that has been held back. Really looking into that as we go in later into the week, to see whether or not the heartache there, the separation, is necessary, or if it's coming from a result of wounds that haven't been healed. Excuse me. But yes, it's not boundaries in place, cut this off, I must go within because but it is a gentle calling. It's a gentle calling to go within. So, you know, the descent to the underworld, much like the Tower card, we're often convinced that it's a real stark moment that we had no inclination, we didn't know it was occurring, and, you know, it's a shock, a bolt out of the blue. That's how the Tower card is often seen. However, with the Tower card, when you really, which is what this year is about, the Tower and the Chariot, when you really look into the Tower card, you can see that the figures are already jumping out of the Tower. They knew that something needed to change. They knew that it couldn't carry on the way that it was. And this week, those emotions that are coming to the surface that says, I'm not happy. This doesn't sit well with me. You know, what is the point of doing X, Y, and Z? Those little niggles, they are allowing us to see that certain things are crumbling and that need to crumble. Okay, now that doesn't mean that we have to get to burnout and say, well, actually now there's nothing left. I need to separate myself from the situation completely. It does mean that this has happened. How can I restore balance? Right, I need some time for myself. Yeah, really being responsible with what we're feeling and what is occurring around us, so that we don't project that, this video included, so that we don't project that onto others. We take what relates to us. You know, I'm reading a book at the moment, or just started reading a book called Giving and Receiving, and it's got the consent wheel, which I would really recommend people look up, whether or not we are giving for ourselves or for that other person, whether or not we are receiving for that other person or for ourselves. On my Facebook page every month on the portals, I give away a competition. And for the 8/8 portal, I thought, I'm going to get out of the way of source. I'm not going to dictate what the prize is. I'm going to leave it up to whoever enters the competition. I'm going to leave it completely open to be received on the level that it's able to be received on. it hasn't been received. Nobody has shared it, which for me, for the 8-8 portal, the Lionsgate portal, is a real indicator of not only where we are collectively and our ability to receive something for what it is. There's no strings, there's no, but you have to buy this. It's just an opportunity to share and restore balance, but also where I am and my ability to receive as well, because no one's sharing it is obviously bringing up that, why is no one sharing that? That narrative. So I can go within and go, well, how am I in my ability to receive? And why am I giving this? Yeah, really, really looking at that this week, so that we can be aware how well we are actually flowing with our own emotions. Or are we just riding the waves of other people? That's going to come to light, and it's going to come to light in the confusion of what we want, okay? Because it may have been based around what everyone else wants. And with Venus going retrograde, we're being given a beautiful opportunity to ensure that our needs are also met, okay? So that we can discover our point. On the Monday today, yes, that can cause some chaos and some confusion, but remembering that everything that we feel, that transformative friction, is a great opportunity for change. We have the Five of Wands, really feeling those insecurities, those doubts, anger, frustration, all of it building up, and allowing it to clear through. Like, we do a practice called fire breathing, where we bring the energy from source, Sami, and the Hucha from the earth up into our Cusco, into our abdomen, and we do it through breath. And what we're doing is causing a friction in the body deliberately, funny enough, to clear that energy. And that's what's happening on the Monday. Being aware that we may actually be deliberately causing these things to come to the surface because we want to look at them. And when we realize that, whether it's the Tower card, the Death card, Venus in going retrograde, or our sun being whatever, when we realize that a lot of the time we bring forth the change that we want, we can recognize that we're not a victim, that it's not happening to us, that it's actually happening for us, and we can start to see the Five of Wands rather than conflict, an opportunity to get out of a deep, dark cave that many people may be finding themselves in. Okay, now that may come from others around you. Yes, they may trigger that. We may have brought them into our life to trigger that. We may be flipping through the telly, watching news, deliberately trying to find something to trigger that. This morning I was deliberately thinking about my grief with my mother because I wanted to have a good cry, and it's that letdown reflex. Okay, so for those that have breastfed, when you breastfeed, you get a moment where you just feel the milk coming. You have a letdown reflex. So on the Monday, really looking at what's going to help you let yourself down. And how do you feel about letting yourself down? What connotations are there, or letting others down? Really looking at that and looking at how it affects your ability to flow. Supply and demand. The more we receive, the more we can give, whether that's breast milk or healing. Yeah, it's just, or manifestation or work or love or whatever. How do we feel about the letdown reflex that's within us? How is that affecting our ability to open our heart space and to flow with this? On Monday, it's going to come to light. And we are going to call out those triggers, or they will call us out, so that we can start to really initiate that transformation. On the Tuesday, we have Temperance, and it does feel almost like Temperance is the whole way throughout the week, but on the Tuesday, you have presence, his presence. Temperance is non-binary, non-gender. Their presence is really, really felt. Really, really felt. So this isn't just about the masculine. This isn't just about the feminine. Even though Venus went retrograde on the day of Mary Magdalene, I've also been very aware. I did the womb rites the same day with a group of wonderful souls, but the energy coming in was the Christ consciousness. I have some beautiful friends that have found the Feast of Mary Magdalene very much to be linked to the masculine as well. Now I frown, but why would we frown at that? Why is there a surprise with that? Because we need both energies to transform here. We need both energies to be affected here. So it isn't just women that are going to feel this, and it isn't just men that are going to feel this. This is about us nurturing ourselves as a whole, complete vessel, nurturing our intuition, our ability to reflect, nurturing our actions, the ones that may not have turned out how we want, so that we can fully bring them back and as such let go of them. Okay? Sometimes things are just for the time that they are, whether that's relationships, whether that's dreams that we had, whether that's our health, whatever. Sometimes, you know, I have a wardrobe full of clothes at the moment that don't fit. And it's really unlike me, because after 6 months, if something isn't sustaining me, if something doesn't bring me beauty, I was going to say duty then, that's interesting, isn't it? If something doesn't bring me beauty, then I will get rid of it. I will pass it forward. I will free it, if you will. I will make space, whether that's clothes, relationships, objects in my home. And it can be quite cutthroat, but there's only so much room. Okay, so at the moment I have a wardrobe full of clothes that don't fit me, which is totally out of character, and I need to clear them out because they're not actually sustaining me. They're not actually making me feel good about myself. And this week, especially on the Tuesday, it's really looking at, does this still give me confidence? Does this still help me shine my light? Is this making me a shiny, happy person? Or is it doing the opposite? And knowing it's time to see that now and move forward. To not take all of the past. Temperance doesn't take all of the water. Yeah, that archetype flows with what is needed and releases what isn't. So keeping that balance by emotionally, okay, I felt that, that's done. Next. On the Tuesday. I went off on a tangent there somewhere, which could be quite possible on the Tuesday. Why was it just being drawn to Archangel Metatron deck for the Tuesday, which is beautiful because this card does depict an archangel here. So Archangel Metatron for me personally is the archetype, not the archetype, the architect of everything. So really remembering all of these things are coming into play to build a better structure for you, based on your heart, based on your desires, based on all those little treasures that you may have hidden that now want to be seen. On the Wednesday, when we can figure that out, there is potential of moving forward. And here I feel a little bit of tiredness. What am I feeling? Here I feel like running out of steam, running out of not quite sure transition. Yeah, of course. Of course. And recognizing that that's what we feel when we have those moments when we're not sure how much further we can go, when we're not sure if we can do any more, when we're confused as to our path or whatever. It's that stage of transition. Okay, so really avoiding the temptation to overload the boat or turn around and go backwards. Yeah, these birds are in the background now. Really avoiding that temptation and allowing what we have discovered to lead us forward. That doesn't always mean physical movement. It's swords here, so mental movement. Being okay with not being okay. Yeah, I think there's Nako Medicine for the People, incredible artist that I absolutely adore, and he's just brought a song out called I'm Okay with Not Being Okay. Now a few years back there was a whole, oh my god, so much history coming up for him, so many accounts of behaviour that is frowned upon, and a lot of people left his music, which is their prerogative obviously, but for me, he was never a role model. He was a musician. I never lived my life by his beliefs. I enjoyed his music, and it was that wisdom that I could take forward. So he's always been, I've always respected his ability to sing and his ability to portray his emotions in his songs. This week in particular, looking at who you look up to, looking at who's in your corner that's going to help you in those moments where you're like, oh, I don't know if I can go on. Is it helping? Are they helping? Yourself included. With your let down reflex here, this knee-jerk reaction of, oh no, that's that, I can't be part of that, so I have to get rid of it. There's a real difference between knowing the things that now wish to move on and the things that we're actually getting rid of from a wounded place. Being very aware of that on the Wednesday, because that's going to ease up some of this heaviness with the transition. Transition is difficult, but it also becomes a bit of a mercy. We actually long for it. So it's feeling into those things that we long to let go of and letting them be so that we can move forward. Not the things that we're, oh, I should do that, or I should do this because, they've said this or they've said that or da-da-da-da-da, I'm a big fan of Ricky Gervais. It's terrible. Some of his stuff just makes me cringe, that not him, the reaction that it causes within me, that I want to laugh at these things, or I can acknowledge them within me, or, these shadow aspects. I'm a big fan of that, and you don't normally, or I perceive that you wouldn't see that with spirituality, but actually that's part of where I'm at. That's part of what I need in order to navigate these choppy waters of the world. I need a bit of humour every now and then to keep me going. So what do you need on the Wednesday to help you through that transition? Come the Thursday, ironically it's my birthday, so that's we have the Three of Swords, which can be, oh gosh, how do we feel about seeing the pain that we are here to go through? How do we feel about the separation that we may feel as we celebrate yet another year of our life from our past? So I'm really, really sensing that, actually. The older I get, the more my past is becoming like a distant memory, and there's only certain things that I can now take forward as I get older. And it's, I'm feeling like this calling in me, not that I'm running out of time, but there are certain things I don't need to keep repeating, and if anything, that's causing unnecessary pain. It's that saying, right, when where you are becomes more uncomfortable than where you could be, or something, to do with being stretched, when it becomes so uncomfortable to stay where you are, that's when we move forward. And that on the Thursday is really going to be a potential that's coming through, that this yearning in our heart, is going to get so loud that actually there is not listening to it. And if we don't listen to it, it's going to cause great pain there, because ultimately the biggest loss in our life is the one where we disconnect from who we are. And on Thursday, that's really going to come to light. I'm feeling like, oh gosh, I think I'll just stay in bed on my birthday. Wow. Okay. And I feel really tempted to say, well, we can celebrate the heartbreaks, and, the Three of Swords can be the Sacred Heart. But there feels like there needs to be an acceptance on the Thursday of how things are and how we feel. And I'm very aware that some of that can be my projection because it is my birthday. However, it would make sense for me to make it better than it is, but on the Thursday it feels quite important that we don't. Okay, that we don't cover it over, that we don't use potential rose-tinted glasses that can be available when we do Venus in retrograde, because it can be, I'm not ready to look at that. Okay, we may not feel ready to look at it, but our body is already seeing it. Gosh, now that's a quote and a half, isn't it? On the Friday, as a result, we have the Queen of Swords. Okay, so we have that opportunity to take that heart now. We can decide if we're going to lock it away and never dream again, or never hope again, never desire again, or if we're going to use it, protect it, keep it in safekeeping, and allow that to guide us forward. And Friday, it does feel really important that we just take time to think about that, to actually nurture our thoughts. Those ones that have been in our head have actually been telling us where our emotions are at in a different kind of way, but they've actually been when we want something, or when we feel something and then we berate ourselves, that's a real insight into how we feel about our feelings. That's us doing that. We can say it's programming and it's this, and it is, but it's us allowing that to happen. So on the Friday, really nurturing that responsibility, not saying get rid of it, I'm not saying bypass it, I'm saying be aware of it. Thank you, what are you trying to show me about myself? Oh, okay, so I don't feel worthy. What can I do to protect my precious little heart until I do feel worthy? Okay. And it may be shutting things off for a while. It may be I need space. It may be I need to figure things out. I need to feel this. I need to take time without being aware of everyone else's stuff and just be in my own energy on the Friday. Okay. On the Saturday, we do have the Seven of Swords. Now, when we do this, not everyone is going to be happy. Yeah, not everyone's going to be chuffed about that, including ourselves. Okay, so I was thinking today about boundaries, and I was thinking I have a big bugbear with the word boundaries. I really do, because I get a lot of people, myself included, coming for healings that have put necessary boundaries in place, and what they've actually done is shut themselves off to who they are. What they've actually done is shut themselves off to the love that they are and their ability to receive. They've stopped giving, but as a result, they've stopped receiving, because they're doing it from this place of lack, this place of pain, this place of wounds. I'm a huge fan of the one circular boundary, the giving, receiving, looking at, what we call Aini, where you're giving from, where you're receiving from. And I was thinking about boundaries today, and I was thinking about, why do they bother me so much? Over a cup of tea, as you do. Why do they bother me so much? What do I need to learn about that? And, I can really go into the very easy, well, I need to put boundaries in place and I have a problem with them. And I knew in my core that it wasn't that. And when I went into it, I could hear that saying, the only person that has problems with you putting in boundaries are the ones that you're putting them in against, or something like that. And I just really felt how untrue that was in my own experience. In my own experience, a lot of individuals that speak of boundaries have them to suit their self, which is great, but don't uphold them or live by them when it comes to others. Many examples. A lot of people will put in in place boundaries of what they're willing to share, but will expect others to share everything. Now, this is where on the Saturday we're going to see that, but we're also going to need to look at that in ourselves. What is it that we are longing for? What boundaries have we put in place with ourselves and with what it is we are longing for? And are we prepared to do what we expect of others? We could want a relationship that is open, full of trust, someone that sees us, gets us, hears us. Are we prepared to trust ourselves? Are we prepared to open and see ourselves? Are we prepared to open and see them for everything that they are? Or do they have to be a certain image? Do we have to be a certain image? It's that expectation, that letdown reflex on the Saturday that is still squawking in the background, and there's a real harmony needed there to bring those endurances that we've gone through to light, so that we can really listen and start to move on from them in time for the full moon. Okay, we don't have to be distracted by these. We can if we want to be, but we don't have to be distracted by these anymore. It's really time to change the narrative. Yeah, it's really time to change the narrative, and that is going to be different for everybody. But what if you did everything completely differently? I remember watching a film called The Yes Man with Jim Carrey. Totally recommend it. And the guidance was for him to say yes to everything that he would normally say no to. Now, going back to that wheel of consent, I'm not recommending that you do things you really don't want to do, but I'm recommending maybe looking at things with a bit more curiosity. What would happen if I did this differently? Especially those things that are coming up again to be seen. We are on a spiral. That is how we live life. But if you are finding that actually the lesson is exactly the same, the feelings are exactly the same, the outcome is exactly the same, what would happen if you just chucked a rock in and changed the ripple? If you saw things differently, if you did things differently, if you spoke differently, if you tried something different, what would actually happen here? Because on the Sunday we have the Three of Pentacles, and there's a real collaboration occurring here. And what I see is the masculine, the feminine, and the universal child all coming together, really looking at our actions, our intuition, and having fun and playing with them by the end of the week. So a heavy week, but the potential of it lightening up as we get to the end. There is confusion there. Yeah, and that can almost be where we get stuck, where we end up going backwards, where we're not sure of our own connection and who we are. And it's that necessary friction. But it's not about figuring things out. It's about feeling okay with being confused, feeling okay with not knowing, doing it from it. And I really feel that around the third eye. It almost feels like there's some calcification around the third eye, and that it needs to shift and that it needs to move. We can only see the things that we allow ourselves to see. So if we're going to limit our perspective on things, ourselves and each other, that is all we are going to see. If we're tired of the view, it is up to us to change the images now. Okay, so we're going to break it down. We're going to do so relatively quickly. We've got 1, 2, 1 over there. Swords, 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 pentacles, wand. I'm going to start with the swords. We have 4 sword cards here. So we do have that solid foundation from our thought process, even if it doesn't feel like it. And what I really sense here is to take time to open the heart, to stretch, to be with the physical body and watch the impact of our thoughts upon our physical body. Things like yoga, tai chi, journaling, a chance to voice our thoughts rather than hold them in, because it's affecting the lymphatic system, and I can really, really feel that almost around the breastplate. That's what I hear, the breastplate, and now I'm being shown biblical breastplates and everything. So we won't go there because we're going to deal with what's in front of us. This week we will find the potential of lots opening up, lots of energy. We're only going to be able to receive that on the level that we're grounded in. So take more time centering yourself and you're going to get more information. Otherwise it's going to be snapshots, little images, which is just going to add to the confusion. So Four of Swords, there is a transition there from heartbreak. Now it may be that we go through the heartbreak again, reenact the heartbreak again, or that we are actually moving forward from that, and actually recognizing sometimes when we reenact the heartbreak, what we're doing is allowing that to, on a cellular level, just be dispersed again. So what do you need? What do you need for yourself through this process of transition? Is it comedy? Is it creativity? Is it comfort? Is it good food? Is it family? What do you need? Venus is asking, what do you need? And the only person that can inform you of that is you. And the only way to do that is to go into the yearnings, into the pain, the sensations, the feelings, okay? Because the wisdom is in there to help you cross this almost abyss from what was to what is to become. Once you do that, yeah, there is a great opportunity to do it with a very nurtured mindset towards any of that insecurity that may come up, whether it's reflected, whether it's internal. Is there a difference? You know, any of that may come up. Once we can see it for an opportunity to see what we need, we can start to really navigate our emotions and our mindset together, mind, body and soul. And that is the stability that the swords promise us this week, if we can recognize where we are in our own process. To do that, we then move on to the fire card, which is the Five of Wands. So we are at that point of change, that spiritual change, that ambition, that drive. And even as I say it, my mind is like, oh, how many more times do I have to say this? How many more times do I have to convince myself? How many more? And there's a real, there. It's the Five of Wands. It's the halfway mark. If you end up going backwards, that's okay. It's part of the journey. If you end up going forwards, great. It's all part of the journey. There is no backwards, forwards. Okay, it's all part of the spinning wheel. Sometimes we go back to build up that momentum. You know, sometimes a baby's head will start to crown and it will go back in to make sure that it doesn't tear. Okay, so really trusting the process. There's only one wand card, and that's the biggest point of change. If we can trust the process, if we can trust what we feel, this fire, this frustration, these emotions, to bring to light what we have hidden in our deep, deep caves of our own insecurities, change is happening. That's where we're at. Change is happening. It's the 5. Okay, you're not going to try and push a baby out at 5 centimeters. It's going to be uncomfortable. So you're at the halfway point. Really acknowledging that. And when we do that, when we move to the space of the cups, there's more flow. Okay, there's more nurture of that flow. There's more allowing our feelings to give us the answers, to restore that balance, to chill the heart out, you know, to be okay with the indecisions that we feel, to know that it's all part of the healing process. It's all part of bringing clarity. We could even have a bit of fun with it. I wonder what's under cup number 3. Yeah, I wonder where this path could be leading me, because underneath that all we have the 8 of Swords and the Ace of Pentacles. This week, definitely feeling into it and looking at what's underneath it all, but recognizing that it is all a reflection of how you see yourself and any physical changes that you want to put in place as a result. And flowing with that. So even if you're looking at something and you're not sure, great. So you're feeling unsure, but that's all about how you see yourself and what you need to put in place to be sure. It's all part of the process. Okay. We then have Pentacles. We have 1, the 3 of Pentacles. That new beginning comes from your ability to collaborate with all aspects of yourself. Who's going to help you do that? Who's going to bring back those, not bring them back, but help you call back those parts of yourself? Who's going to help you create what it is you are trying to create? It's in the early stages, yeah, but who's going to really help you empower yourself to do that? Are you doing that? Are you really helping others? Really looking at that this week. At what cost? To what end? To what point? Are you giving for the joy of giving, or are you giving so that you can take? Are you receiving for the joy of receiving, or are you receiving so that you can give? Really, really looking at those aspects individually and then as the bigger whole. Getting true consent from yourself and from others. Okay? If someone has come to you to talk about something, can I actively listen, or will I encroach all of my opinions, all of my experiences onto that? Is that helping? Do I need someone to listen without that? Do I need someone to listen with examples? Really figuring that out this week. Is the situation empowering you or disempowering you? Are you empowering or disempowering others? Stark truth. But underneath it all, we have temperance. Yeah? Are we being the midwife of the potential of our own soul? Are we helping other people deliver theirs? Are we, applying what we know to our life? Are we chop wood, carry water? Are we walking our path? Are we expecting the same of others that we would do to ourselves? And are we expecting a little too much or a little too little? Yeah, and why are we expecting in the first place? Yeah, all expectations. Really, really looking at them this week and seeing how well they help us apply what we know to the very path that we're walking, which in temperance heads towards the crown. Sovereignty, always, always, always. Is it our authentic self? And we're going to find out this week where it isn't, and it's okay. It's okay. Things have changed, things have moved on, or not, but it's a great opportunity to see where we stand on things, and a great opportunity to see if we still believe in certain aspects of where we're at, in order to really open our heart and figure out what it is we want to take forward and who it is we are as a result. Have the most incredible week, and I will see you just before the full moon next week. Take care.